Hello, everybody. My name is Jack. Welcome to another edition of Alternative Me, where we talk about the best and the greatest alternative bands of the 90s. I am a singer songwriter here in Los Angeles. If you want to know a little bit more about me and my background, check out my video about me in the Seattle scene. It talks about my history and what I'm doing here on this channel. I'm about to make a record, and I want to take the time to talk about the bands that influenced me and have been have had a great impact on my life, both musically and creatively, and have inspired me all these years for decades. And I'm about to make a record, and I like to talk about the music that compels me to do this. The bands, the artists, the creatives that influenced my life and compel me to make this music. The music is seemingly in my blood, and I can't get it out. And one of the bands that is responsible for this, one of my main influences, is definitely the band Superchunk, out of Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Superchunk was a four-piece band. They were primarily comprised of Mac McCon, Laura Balance, Jim Wilbur, and John Wooster. This band, when I first heard them, this was it. This was the band that I could see myself actually being in. When I heard them, I could feel their energy. I could feel their purpose. I could feel their urgency. And I just wanted to be them. Like, I literally wanted to be this band in every way, in their philosophy, in their style, the type of music that they made, the songs that they wrote, their ethics, everything about them I was in love with. Superchunk came out of Chapel Hill, North Carolina, which was a little scene at this time in the early 90s. There were quite a few bands that came out of this little mecca, one of them being the Archers of Loaf, who I'm sure I'll talk about eventually here on this channel. But right now I'm going to stick to this band. Mac McCon was the main songwriter. I hope I'm pronouncing that name right. I guess I never really quite learned how to say it because they never really said their last names. They were just Mac, Laura, Jim, and John. So Mac was the main songwriter. Mac was the primary songwriter. He was the lead singer of the band. Laura was the bass player. Jim was the guitarist, and John was the drummer. The album that I first purchased was called Tossing Seeds, which was a collection of their singles. This album comprised their 7 inches. We used to call them 7 inches. Back in the day, they were called 45s. But basically they were singles. And this, once I heard this, the sound of this band, I was introduced to the world of Superchunk. And the first thing you notice when you hear Superchunk is Mac's voice. It's this very high, kind of high-pitched voice, especially for a male singer. He almost sounds like he's singing too high, but he's right on key, and it's kind of fits the music perfectly because the guitars and the drums are very propulsive and noisy, as indie rock of the 90s tended to be. And his high-pitched vocals very much complemented the guitars because it kind of cuts right through the noise, and you can hear his awesome melodies and lyrics through all of that wall of sound. And it's definitely the first thing you noticed, and I kind of could hear myself in my vocals singing like this. Like when I went on to be in a band, I could very much hear myself doing this because I think my voice tends to be a little bit lower, but I loved that high pitched sound that he got when he would sing up high like that. It was perfect for him, and it matched the band. It didn't annoy. It wasn't done on purpose to piss anybody off. It was just the way he sung, and it sounded great. The guitars and the drums were very much in the style of almost like a Husker Du or a Replacements, Dinosaur Jr. I would put it in that kind of that category. All bands that I will probably cover in the future here. So Tossing Seeds, that singles collection was the first thing I heard, but it wasn't until I heard their Matador release, On the Mouth, when I really, really fell in love with this band. On the Mouth is one of those records where every single song is good. Every single song represents what this band is all about, and every song is definitive. It's like a definitive Superchunk record. And I listened to this album every day. A friend of mine made a cassette of it, and I would listen to it day in, day out. When I would walk to class, I would listen on the way back from class. I would listen in my dorm room. I never got tired of listening to this record, and to this day, it's a record that I can listen to front to back, but not without tearing up a little bit, because it's definitely one of those records that takes you back to a certain time in your life, and it's definitely almost like a portrait of who I was as a 19-year-old. So On the Mouth was a great record, and that was the record they released that on the record label Matador. As I said before, Matador, one of the seminal indie labels of that time. But Superchunk themselves were a fiercely independent band. Superchunk was a fiercely independent band, and they had their own record label that was co-founded by Mac and Laura together, which is called Merge Records, out of Chapel Hill. And they would release their own Superchunk albums, but they also would release albums from other bands as well. Because, again, like much like, Fugazi in Washington, D.C. or Beat Happening out of Olympia, Washington, they not only loved making their own music, but they loved putting out other bands' music. And I really, really respect the hell out of that. That's such a cool thing to do. It's so refreshing to see people who not only love the music that they make, but love music that other people make, and they want other people to hear it. So cool, so amazing. And I loved their independent spirit, their defiance. They put out a couple records on Matador, No Pocky for Kitty, and also On the Mouth. But they realized that, they had their own fan base, so they could just put the records out themselves. So that's what they did when they put out their next album, Foolish, which kind of was a little bit of a different turn for them. It was still very much a Superchunk album, but it definitely took on a much sadder tone as the relationship of Mac and Laura kind of started to break apart. And that's always a sad thing, especially when you're in a band together. That can definitely put a lot of pressure on you. And it comes through in that record. It's a tearjerker, quite frankly. But again, it's 100% pure, amazing Superchunk power and emotion. Their influence on me, I can't emphasize it enough in every way. When I saw them play live, it only solidified how much I loved them, because live, their energy on stage matched the live energy from their records. Not a lot of bands do that. Sometimes you'll hear this loud punk energy on a record, and then you'll see the band live, and it doesn't quite translate. But not with Superchunk. They were just jumping up and down like they'd had 16 cups of coffee, just like a bunch of pogo sticks jumping around on stage. Laura, the bass player, back then you didn't see a lot of females, in these male-dominated punk bands, but Laura on stage was just a boss, and she would just take that thing and crank it on stage, and that didn't sound right. She would just stand on that stage with that bass, and just shake her hair around, and they were something else. I must have seen them live, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 times. I lost count, but every time I saw them, they were great. And the albums that I really loved, definitely that that Tossing Seeds singles, Foolish, which is, kind of the more depressing one, and On the Mouth in my opinion is their definitive record. That is the definitive Superchunk album, and I will fight you over that. They also made some videos, which MTV didn't play very many alternative music videos. No matter what anyone tells you, MTV did not play that much. You had a show called Alternative Nation, and then you had 120 Minutes. And that's pretty much where I saw Superchunk videos. And there was a video for a song called Package Thief. And it is so good. It's basically the band in puppet form. They're all marionettes. And the marionettes are jumping around and pogoing just like the band does when they played live, and they look just like the band. So it's a really great video. I encourage you to check out that video for Package Thief. And Mac went on to form another band called Portastatic on his own record label Merge. And John, the drummer of the band, who was also a really, really funny guy. He was on WFMU, and he did a comedy show on there that was absolutely hilarious. But he also later on joined the band Sugar, who I'll have a link to that as well. That was the first episode of Alternative Me. I did an episode on Sugar, Bob Mould's other band, and John later on played drums in Sugar. So there's a connection there as well, and of course the music is certainly similar. And once again, if you want to get into Superchunk, I recommend getting that Tossing Seeds, Foolish, and On the Mouth. You can't go wrong. This band is so good. They will brighten your day. They are, like I said, they're like a cup of coffee. You listen to this and you can't help but just get moving and start your day, or wherever you are, in the car, exercising, running. Just a great, great high energy band. And I highly encourage you to listen to Superchunk. And if you're into Superchunk and you love Superchunk, I want you to comment below and tell me what your favorite Superchunk album is. And I'd love to talk to you about it. I'm going to close out this episode of Alternative Me with a cover of one of my favorite Superchunk songs. It's called New Low. It is from On the Mouth. And this one I'm going to play on guitar because I just think a ukulele wouldn't do it justice. So here's the song New Low from the album On the Mouth by Superchunk. 1, 2, 3. Come on, follow me. I will run straight home when I can't be true. I wanna turn to go. Say you wanna be in my shoes. You must be crazy. Say you wanna be in my shoes. You must be crazy. We are reaching a new low. 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 Come on, shake me down. I will run your drug. I don't wanna sleep alone. I wanna sleep in your bunk. Say you wanna be in my shoes. You must be crazy. Say you wanna be in my shoes. You must be crazy. We are reaching a new low. 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 Tell me you are not forgotten. Tell me you are not forgotten. Tell me, are you feeling rotten now? Tell me you are not forgotten. Tell me that you want it and how. Tell me, are you feeling rotten now? Yeah.